Hello guys, and welcome to a new Wargame video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have something a bit different for you guys. Well, it's kind of going back to the old days. I've got a simple gameplay replay for you guys, and today I'm not going to be joined by Valh at all. I mean, it's been a long time since I've done a video without him, but this time around I just decided that I would cover a replay that I was originally going to upload as a live gameplay, but then I basically couldn't because the audio messed up. So I decided to do sort of like a post-commentary replay, which is kind of going back to like the old days, like I said before. And in this game, basically it's myself and Bubblebox against Valh and Silverraptor. So basically sort of like an in-house game. We just decided to have a little fun playing against each other. We're all using Dutch decks, so this is going to be a real showcase of all the new units and how to use them in certain scenarios. I mean, most of them are pretty self-explanatory and similar to other units, but the Dutch decks themselves are actually pretty strong. I mean, you have high availability because of the points you get to use in the decks. I think you get about 60 activation points, which is pretty crazy. So these decks are relatively strong. I mean, if you're looking for like a super strong Dutch deck, I would recommend you combine them with Germany and get that coalition going. But in this one, we are looking at purely Dutch units. So this should be really interesting for some of you guys who have waited for some Dutch gameplay. Apologies for not putting up much Wargame gameplay recently. I mean, I don't actually play the game as often as some of you guys would think, so that's why I don't do gameplay on the channel very often. I mean, it's a struggle for my friends to actually get me to play it, but I enjoy watching it. I think I love the game. I love how good it looks. Like if we zoom in and just look across the landscape, just look how awesome that is. It's really, really beautiful game. And I love the units. I mean, all of the units that have been added in the Dutch unit pack are just awesome. I think they're really cool. Obviously, a lot of them share the models of other units, but I mean, I'm just such a war fanatic. I love sort of like the units and stuff, but I'm just not very good at the game. I mean, I'm all right, but you'll see anyway. In this one, it's going to be me and Bubblebox. And it's going to be a pretty casual commentary. I'm not going to go into it too much. I really want to just show you guys how beautiful all of the new units are and how they interact with each other. So if I just speed this up so that we get out of deployment, you can see that I have put down a couple of heavy tanks at the start, a couple of Leopard 2A5 NLs, so just the Leopard 2A5s from Germany, but the Dutch variants. Then we have some YP408 PWIs, which are the new armored cars from the Dutch, and they do have a Corps Marinaire in them. We've also got the same with command infantry there. Then I have one of these Hawk Pip 2s, same system as the Americans. I've got one of the Recon Leopard tanks, which are awesome. I've got a Cheetah, which is basically a Flak Panzer Gepard. And then I also have in here a M113 with the Dutch autocannon system on it, which is really awesome. And as you can see, they've got the little NL flagging system on the side of them there. So my BO-105CB has moved up to the front line just to get some recon information. And if we put this from my point of view, I will continue the game from there. So you can see all of these units coming over the horizon. We've got some of Valh's Leopard 2A5s, a couple of Cheetahs he's got there, some YPR sort of transport vehicles coming in as well. And what I'm doing is moving all of my units to the far left with a fast move order, and then I was going to spread out in this forest just here. A lance coming in right at the start to blow up that forest, so obviously they've got a lance back there and we've learned that from the start. And Bubblebox is going to be pushing on the right side here against Silverraptor. So my tank's beginning to open up. Leopard 2A5s picking off a couple of targets. We are playing on total destruction, so this is points based, and you can see we are picking off plenty of units from the start. A couple of recon units going down there for Valh, and now I've picked off these grenadiers in the open with a couple of 2A5s. Now we were playing this all on the same team speak, so we were talking to each other on both sides while this was going on, and I think at this point I was quite surprised that I brought in two 2A5s at the start, because he brought in a 2A4 and a 2A5. Now on this right side, Silverraptor has engaged Bubblebox's Corpse Mariner with the Stutztruppen. I'm sorry if I butcher some of the names, but there we go. So I've moved my helicopter back because he is moving his recon forwards, or his anti-air, sorry. And you can see that anti-air is taking down a couple of Bubblebox's transport helicopters, but luckily nothing in those, so that shouldn't matter too much. Just giving me a location for those cheaters as I move forwards to 2A5, and hopefully my 2A5 will get a snipe onto that cheater. That was the idea of moving it forward so quickly, and just like that, a free kill. So that's one of the cheaters down, which means that he's only got one left, and that leaves him quite vulnerable to air attack. You can see the autocannons engaging each other at the moment. That poor APC being caught out in the open by Bubblebox's APCs, and these ones coming down the hill here, these armoured cars getting absolutely wrecked. I don't believe there was any infantry in those, otherwise they probably would have survived. But these Corpse Mariner coming down from Silverraptor absolutely destroying Bubblebox's infantry now, and it looks like Bubblebox is kind of losing grip on this right side. So I brought up some Corpse Mariner to try and get control of this forest here. My recon has spotted the APC on the left there, so I take that up as well. And I move forwards my tanks to provide some fire support onto these Stutztruppen. So that's my recon leopard in this forest area here, which is providing the recon onto a lot of units for me, so that I can move forwards these leopards without having to worry too much. Now, as you may have noticed, Bubble did move an escort, an AH-64 escort, and one of the new Apaches around the back, and actually managed to snipe the command vehicle in Foxtrot, which really set back Valh. But here we see the Leopard 1B and the Leopard 2A5 approaching these leopards here, and I do manage to snipe one of Valh's Leopard 2A5s with my F-16 Block 150 CU, which has air-to-ground missiles, and so he lost his 2A5, and I unfortunately lost a tank there. My 2A5 nearly killing the 2A4 there, leaving it on 2 health as it escapes up the hill. So I moved forwards my 2A5s to basically contest that area, since I did manage to get the sniper onto the 2A5. Cheater there, making quick work of one of our planes. But now this A64 escort from Silverraptor coming in and finishing the job until it does get shot down by the 2 stingers of Bubblebox. Now Bubblebox is in a pretty bad situation here, so I'm forced to put some infantry over to the right side now. We can see that basically all he's got defending is those 2 stinger squads and these 3 infantry squads coming up in the APCs, but Silverraptor has an amazing advantage on this right side now. He literally has nothing left there, Bubble, to defend. And so I'm bringing a lot of my tanks and so on over to the right side of this forest so that I can pick off any reinforcements that try and cross from Bravo to Charlie. So in terms of capturing conquest points in this, it's not so important for winning the game. It's basically the more points you capture, the more reinforcement points you get. And that can be quite vital actually. And forcing them to go back and have to capture Foxtrot again at the beginning of the game here has left Valh really weak. And honestly, I was thinking maybe I should have pushed up onto this hill here, but I didn't really want to run into any infantry that could have easily ambushed me from this forest and maybe this town. So I decided to play it conservatively and basically wait until we could catch back the right, because I was going to continue to reinforce the right here. So I've got some Corpse Mariner coming up, some Stutztruppen, or Bubblebox being engaged by multiple APCs and multiple infantry squads. But he's going to be forced to bring those back as they do get stunned. But I did get my Corpse Mariner into this building, which is quite important because it gives me a good point on which to advance into this forest. And these Corpse Mariner with a 20 round per minute AT4 are doing some serious damage to those APCs, and that's the perfect use for that AT4. They're not very good against tanks, but they are great against APCs. So I'm bringing up a second squad here to fill up the second village sector just there, and that should allow me to get a good hold on the top of Charlie to stop them pushing all the way through, because the Corpse Mariner squads there in the town sectors will be able to hold on very well. So I've got a Vlacht here coming up, that's just a cargo, coming up to resupply this Eyehawk. Now the Ihawk is just low on fuel, but it has used up one of its missiles. And then we got a 205 there sniping one APC there that Valh was probably using to probe. This YP408, I do see it, and with my block 150 CU, I bring that in and I snipe his CV. But unfortunately my block does go down to a cheetah in the forest there. So stopping them capturing Bravo, which is quite important at this point in the game, because otherwise that would give them a lot of reinforcement points to work with, even though I have destroyed a lot of their units. And I did just lose a quite expensive plane there, so I'm pretty glad at this point that I didn't push forwards too much. So anyway, I'm deciding to join Bubblebox on the right here in trying to resecure this forest. I'm sending forwards my APCs to support that push. And yeah, so far the game's going pretty well for us. Even though Bubblebox did lose this, right now we can work together to take it back. Now those two Corpse Mariner squads in that town are basically, I do not want to be messing with those. So I'm trying to retreat these Corpse Mariner on the right side there. And over on this left side, the Corpse Mariner being caught out by many infantry squads, so I'm forced to retreat both of those back to their town sectors and try and resupply them. Another 55 points for me as a cheetah gets sniped on the left there by one of my 2A5s. And yeah, I'm doing pretty well at the moment. This recon helicopter that's hovering above this forest area giving me loads of information about what's moving about up here. I can see obviously the 2A4 moving forwards. Got the Corpse Mariner. One of the squads unfortunately got picked off, and as this one tries to retreat, I think it suffers the same fate, or at least it manages to hide one of the two. But now all the APCs opening up on these infantry squads, doing a lot of damage, and basically forcing them to go to the backside of that forest again. Now they can't really run across back to Bravo at this point, because my tank support on this left side can attack them in the meantime. But here we have a block 10 coming in from Valh. That gets shot down immediately by my two Ihawk pips. Does drop a couple of bombs onto the edge of this forest, but nowhere near enough to my Leopard 2A5 to do enough damage. So anyway, my Corpse Mariner unfortunately couldn't get into this building because it was occupied by Bubblebox's troops. So I'm just trying to hide that the best I can. To stop it getting taken out, but the Corpse Mariner, they're sniping them, and my cargo's being pretty much useless. I couldn't really get them in there in time, but now they can just resupply Bubbles units instead. So a cheeky little attack here from Valh. He does bring over a couple of YP408 CMVs, which are the recon APCs, and he did snipe one of my Hawk pips, which is really annoying because it leaves me vulnerable on that left side. So I begin to move my Leopard 2A5 back to prevent them from coming across that bridge, and now I'm just sniping them on that left side there. As you can see, I managed to take out one. So that was a really nice use of the large map. You can see, although the points are confined to the middle, this is Paddy field, there is a lot of space around the outside to make flanking adjustments. So here we have another escort coming in. I just love the fact that they added more Apaches to this game. The Apache is such a beautiful helicopter, and this one coming with rocket pods and the autocannon is just so versatile throughout the game. You can use it to destroy infantry really quickly, and it also takes out APCs no problem. So I can see that recon APC there retreating its way back towards Valh's lines, and I was surprised not to see him bring it down to the bottom side here, because I was pretty vulnerable back here, and after we attacked them at their base with an escort, we didn't actually have anything here ourselves other than this cheetah that Bubblebox brought in later on. So I managed to resupply a couple of Bubblebox's troops with my cargoes, and now the Stutztruppen with the YPRs are attacking some KCT, which are occupying these buildings. This Verplug 95 with the Super Dragons would be quite good to attack the YPRs with, but Silverraptors decided to retreat with those. That Block 10 cluster munition bomber coming in is going to get shot down, and was very close to dealing a lot of damage to my 2A5, but fortunately a lot of the cluster munitions missed and left my 2A5 on 3 health. And I do have the resupply there to begin to fix those up, so that wasn't so bad. Especially considering I got the kill and they did not. So anyway, in terms of score, you can see we are on 1,480 points and the enemy 1,135 points. So we're doing pretty well at the moment, solid 300, 400 points up. And I've also got a command unit into Echo now, some command infantry, especially considering he was using those cluster munitions early on. I decided to go for infantry instead of a armored CV. So yeah, we're just kind of consolidating in Charlie at the moment. You can see that Bubblebox is slowly building up some more infantry so that we can push back into Bravo. And thankfully, because I've got control of Echo now, we are getting an increase in reinforcement points. Over here on this right side, you can see I brought in a cheeky lance. I've had to bring it all the way over to this right side because the lance does have a minimum range. So I am wanting to use it on the middle side of the map. And by moving it over here, I can. I've also got a cheetah coming over there to protect it against any helicopters, because it's a very easy target out there on its own, especially if they decide to target it specifically after I fire the first salvo with it. I've also got another recon helicopter moving up on this right side just to make sure that we aren't going to get flanked. And furthermore, I brought in some more recon, these 25mm APCs, to cover the left side. I've already got a KCT squad covering this bridge, and these two APCs, the recon there, is to cover this left side while I move the majority of my forces over to the right side, because we are going to try and make a push through Bravo. So a lance coming in here, you can see the missile flying through the air. It's going for a snipe onto Bubblebox's CV and does land it. And that's a lot of points. We just lost another 100 or so points there to the enemy for that lance strike. So a nice lance strike. But Bubblebox fortunately having 2 CVs in Charlie. Really nice move actually by Bubble there, because getting those CVs sniped is pretty common against lances, honestly. Although you do need the recon information. But thankfully, having a second one in the sector meant that we did not lose control of Charlie and did not have to waste extra points getting another CV in. So either way, it's my turn to fire the lance. So you can see my lance aiming here. If I hide the HUD, we can see it in all its beauty. It's sort of hidden in the forest, and it's made an opening so that it can fire the rocket up and away. You can barely see it because of the camouflage, but there it is in all its glory. And it should be firing soon enough. So I pinged where I was going to lance to Bubble so that we can use that to attack. So there we go, the lance firing away. And that should land just about on its target. I want to see if I was any close to getting them. Yeah, well, look at that. The lance is coming in right in the middle of all that infantry. And boom. That was an incredible strike. I didn't actually realize how good that was. Either way, as soon as that occurred, I decided to make the push, or get Bubble to make the push. And he's coming in with his mortar support as well, these M106A1s, basically your standard mortar carriers. And now he's engaging the panicked troops of Corps Marinier. Now because they're panicked, they're a lot less effective than they were before, and you can see Bubble here is just cleaning up all of these infantry units that got wrecked by the big strike of the lance there. That's incredible. He's also got the mortar support coming in on top of these Corps Marinier. Really, really nice use of mortars by Bubble throughout this game. I've got some Verplug. They're coming up to attack any APCs, and they can also focus down infantry as well. You can see my tanks also providing fire support from that tree line there as well. So I think I'm bringing up my own Corps Marinier here. These YP408 PWIs, or PW1s, I think they're PWIs. But they're bringing up some more Corps Marinier. And the idea of those is to get into this compound just here. And that should give me great coverage over the whole of this sort of area. And you can see I'm starting to really pick off a lot of these Corps Marinier. From such a fortified position, it gives you like such an advantage. And now I'm sending this APC forwards just to see if there's anything else over there. cheeky recon infantry, or recon armoured vehicle coming across the bridge there. Does get taken out by my KCT. That's why I put them there, to stop that sort of thing happening. And now we can see this cheetah running away as my infantry advances. So we've basically taken out the majority of their infantry now, and we are well aware of it. You can see they literally have nothing left here, and so I'm just forcing forwards my Korpsmarine, and they are struggling to reinforce it quick enough. So we're going to get our way deep into Bravo at this point. Over on this left side, I'm not too concerned about Valh trying to come down this hill. He probably knows it's suicide at this point, just because I have a 2A5 on this left side and one in this forest as well, which still needs to be fixed up, but I wasn't too concerned about that, as I was trying to support this right side. But yeah, the Korpsmarine will just continue to run up this hill, and I'm also being followed up by Bubblebox. So now Bubblebox bringing up a 2A1 to support this push, and a cheetah. And we are now currently 600 points in the lead, and a cheetah there going down to the Korpsmarine. I think Silver basically forgot to keep moving that back, and it got to the point where he told it originally and then didn't move any further and got caught up to by my Marinier. So that was good, and an extra 55 points on the board for me as I continue to push these infantry forwards. So my lance coming in again this time round. It hits right in the middle of a lot of the reinforcing infantry and stuns so much of this infantry and APCs that it allows my Korpsmarine to have an absolute field day. So these Stutztruppen already panicked, and the APC is not lasting very long either. I made sure that I focused those down, and with Bubblebox's extra squad here coming up to help out, we make a lot of damage and a lot of ground in towards these enemy troops. So as you can see, myself and Bubblebox focusing down the APCs again. Those Browning machine guns from those APCs do a lot of damage. Those grenadiers now getting stunned by the mortar support, which is awesome. And it looks like an enemy lance just coming in there, absolutely blowing away my Korpsmarine. But fortunately, both sides panicked at the moment, so not too much of a disadvantage from that lance strike. And Bubblebox's superb placement of APCs on this right side is allowing us to get some really nice reinforcements here. But this block 5 with the 4 500kg bombs lands directly on top of our troops, and that really hurt. Anyway, we have a couple of APCs coming up on this left side here. One of my Korpsmarine squads got killed before I could drop them out. The second squad kind of gets left out in the open, unfortunately. And now I'm sneaking up this Leopard 1V here. And that gets a sneaky side shot into this 2A4 that was hiding in the forest there. I knew that's what the target was. But just before I can retreat it, it does get taken out. And I was probably thinking I should have put up the 2A5 as well, but I wasn't too convinced that I would get away with that. So I didn't want to put my 2A5 basically into the open, because they will have the air-to-ground units as well that I used effectively early on. So I basically didn't want the same thing to happen to me that I did to Valh at the beginning of the game. Either way, we've made quite a lead so far as we continue to push towards Alpha. Bubblebox's continued support with those mortars has been invaluable to stunning a lot of these units and allowing his infantry and my infantry to advance. So that's been very important so far. And now what I'm doing is trying to get my recon tank and my Leopard 2A5 over to approach from the same direction my other tank did, so that they can basically approach and take out the 2A4 that's still sat on this left side. But just before I do that, the BO-105 comes in and provides recon for this block 150 CU, and unfortunately that means that I lose my 2A5 to that strike. So unfortunately there, my 2A5 being in the open and being spotted by this recon on the left side there did mean it died. And that was a bit of a mistake on my part, and I was quite mad at Valh for doing that. I mean, he did just get revenge basically for what I did earlier to him. But yeah, I probably should have had some more anti-air closer to the front line on this left side, and I did notice that at that point, so you'll see me bringing in some more anti-air for this left side soon enough. And also I need to resupply this Hawk Pip as well. But either way, a lot of my points has been going into infantry for this right side to continue our push into Alpha. So you can see I've got some more APCs coming in, 6 more units of infantry to reinforce. Fortunately avoided this Lance Strike. Bubblebox's infantry unfortunately got caught amongst it. So they're all stunned, but all 3 squads on this left side surviving. One of the squads on the right side did die. But Bubblebox still making ground and providing plenty of mortar fire to allow that to happen, which is, yeah, like I say, this mortar support from Bubble has been absolutely insane throughout the game. I think he pretty much like fired these almost constantly for like the entire game, which was insane, and on the right targets as well. So we can see here my Verplug getting a nice kill onto an APC there. That Super Dragon is awesome. It does have 2 HE power, so it can fire at infantry, which is so cool. Anyway, Valh's block 150 CU coming in again, doing some more damage. And now we're just waiting for Bubble's mortar support to come into effect and these flames to disappear so that we can continue to move our own units forwards. Also my Lance coming in there and taking out the CV for the sector, which is crazy. So that basically did a lot of damage again, another very successful Lance Strike, and it did do a nice chunk of damage to those Corpsmen in there as well, as you can see. And this is basically all their troops, and then again we've got some more mortar support from Bubble as we begin to push our troops forwards. So far so good, and we're continuing to crush the enemy. I probably could have, at this point, maybe taken the initiative to push around the left side, but we're honestly not receiving that many reinforcement points. So I decided to just focus entirely on this left side, and you can see we are just chewing up enemy units. These Corpsmen in there are not going to stand up to the my own Corpsmen in there for very long. And these Verplug doing well to take out a couple of APCs. Yeah, those Corpsmen in there are dead, and I've got my Sturmtruppen into the right side of Alpha, block 5 coming in to land a bombing strike onto my infantry. Tried to dodge them out of the way, but unfortunately they still get caught quite a lot by that bombing strike. Neither of the squads dying entirely though, and now we have our own APC coming up here to capture Alpha and give us some more reinforcement points. So I originally ran back my Corpsman in there in the middle here because I thought that block 5 was actually going for the bombing strike onto the Mariner, but it wasn't. So now they're full health and they're going to be attacking these low health squads of Corps Mariner, and one of them is only worried, so I'm at a great advantage here, and I can continue to push onwards. Also these Verplug and the recon tank here picking off some of the reinforcements into Alpha, and I've furthermore got a F-16A MLU in the airspace, and that's going to take on an F-16A Block 1, and even though the MLU costs more, the Block 1 won, and he got shot down afterwards. 90 points there back for me, but I mean those MLUs do cost quite a lot of money, and they are supposed to be so much better, but they're just turned out not to be in this game. I mean, Silverraptor was pretty happy with that because that shouldn't have really happened. Either way, we've got a really good foothold in Alpha now, and with basically 13 minutes left in the game, we're getting a great foothold into Alpha, and I've brought my recon tank across, and a lot of these units now I've brought across to the right side here, and I'm going to start moving up towards Alpha because we've got such a good foothold, like I said. So some Corpse Mariner from Bubblebox being bombed out, but we are now at 3,055 points, and the enemy, Valh and Silver, are at 2,430 points. So definitely still a lot of breathing room for them. They've still got a great chance of getting back into this game if they manage to pick off a few expensive units. I mean, as long as they have higher points than us, they can still win. So it doesn't matter how many sectors we have. If we don't use our units correctly, then we could give them the victory. And again, there, Bubble losing a cheetah to the Recon Leopard of Silverraptor. And Bubble wasn't happy about that, so he decided to mortar the hell out of it. And it is actually doing quite a lot of damage. I think any direct hits with those mortars can do quite a lot. 4 damage done there to the Leopard 1. And I did move back my Stormtrooper as much as I thought I needed to in order to stop them being fired upon. But obviously there you can see that I had to move them back a little bit further to avoid that. And the Corpse Mariner in there as well. And now what we're going to plan to do is push into this sector just here. So you can see I'm deciding to lance on this forest area. Over here we can see an enemy plane did just get shot down by by Bubbles' MLU. So you can see my lance here. Every time I fired it, I've moved its position. That's why these resupply helicopters are in a different place to the lance. I've had to use those recon or supply helicopters, sorry, to supply the lance throughout the game because obviously it's so far away from my actual FOB. I can't really afford to keep it at base. Anyway, this Block 5 from Valh spotting and destroying the CV from Bubblebox. I managed to get my infantry out of the way of that, but unfortunately we lose control over Alpha, and that will stop giving us any reinforcement points. Bubblebox's MLU there getting a bit too far forward, so it looks like Bubble evac that as soon as he saw that happen. And now I've got my recon helicopter up here, I've got my recon tank. My recon tank probably can't see too much, it's not really placed very well, although this low cover here does mean that we can probably see all the way to that BO-105CB with that tank. But either way, there's not really much information going on at the moment. I've got a few AMX-13 FL-15s here. These are basically just your simple AMX-13s, and they have 13 rounds per minute, which is really good for using them as fire support. So I was going to bring some in here to help us push into Alpha, but by the time they got there I just completely forgot about them because we'd already secured Alpha like really quickly. So yeah, the only place I'm really worried about at the moment is over on this left side of Echo, but I'm bringing in some cargoes now to finally resupply this Hawk Pip, and also try and fix up some of these Corpse Mariner so I can use them later on, because these could easily walk over to Bravo and then move up to Alpha from there, so that I could actually use them to attack. And that's something I probably should have done, considering I didn't really need to keep stuff on this left side here. Valh knew that if he moved any sort of tanks or units into the open, into Echo, that they would have been sniped by aircraft. And the main thing that's actually quite interesting about this game, playing Dutch v Dutch, is quite crazy because you don't have any seed, and that means that radar AA basically can't be taken out by aircraft, and that makes the whole dynamic of destroying like anti-air completely different, because you've got to do it with ground units, so or with like good bombing strikes. But yeah, that's mainly not going to happen because the bomber would probably get shot down before the bombing strike lands, and then the bombing strike might not even kill the AA, so it's very unreliable. And therefore, like, AA is really strong, and in this case on the left side here, he couldn't support like a push with any seed. But this Hawk Pip here, almost being taken out by one of the Verplug squads that's managed to sneak its way up into this building. You can see there's one Verplug squad that managed to get into there and remain there for the majority of the game. Now, what I'm telling about Bubble to do at this point is because he's been using these mortars the whole game. I told him to smoke this town on the left side because I believed there was like some Verplug or something like that in there, some APCs. But we just watched this lance come in. Let's see what that hits. Nothing. I believe it was going for Bubblebox's APCs and did manage to stun one of them. But yeah, I was telling him to smoke these buildings so that I could make a push into this forest. And basically, after a little while, that's exactly what we do. But I'm waiting for my reinforcements to arrive really before I do that. I've actually moved up the AMX-13 FL-15s, and I've got the Leopard 2A4NL coming up to help us out. And I'm trying to maintain a little bit of a presence on the left there, but I've got my 2A5s now up in this forest with a couple more 2A4s. So we've got quite a lot of tanks up here ready to push onto this position, but the worst thing we want to do is give away too many points. So I've got to be careful using those tanks, and as you probably saw, I didn't really have much AA, so that's why I delayed the push, because I've got now a cheetah coming up, and I'm also now calling in an Eyehawk, although that's not going to be there for a little while. So my lance is getting ready to fire once again, and you can see that I'm pinging where I'm going to attack, and once my lance lands, we should be good to go. So another F-16 shot down by Bubblebox's MLUs. Really good use of the airplanes there, and you can see my Leopards now advancing, my Recon Leopard in the center with the two 2A4s either side, and the AMX-13s like very close behind. So there's not really much infantry involved in this push, just trying to keep going as much as possible. 150 CU coming in, does take out one of my 2A4s but does get shot down. Now a 2A4 is worth 145 points and that plane's worth 160, so great job there. Now as you can see, the APCs or the HGEMs were introduced on this left side, and the smoke unfortunately didn't cover just the edge of this town here, and it means that the HGEMs had a great shot into the side of my tanks, and that's why my Leopard Recon went down, and these AMX-13s just didn't last very long at all because of that. So that was quite unfortunate. I really like Bubble. Well, we thought that we'd covered the area sufficiently, but unfortunately not. So I had to retreat that push, sort of abort, and make sure these Leopard 2A4s got back into the forest as quickly as they could, because the last thing we needed to do was give them all up to the enemy and lose our lead, because we are currently only 500 points in the lead, although we have such a massive map advantage. So yeah, now what I've got to do is get these anti-air units into position, and then we can maybe go for another push before the end of the game. And yeah, these Verplug, they really hurt. So the next time we attack, we need to make sure that we cover that off correctly. And the other way I can do it is just lance it. And I think at this point, a lance from Bubblebox, yeah, was heading towards this town. And I believe he managed to blow up a couple of squads there. Yeah, at least one of them. But it does leave one of the Verplug squads left. And that artillery is surprisingly close to the CV. I never actually realised that that was happening. But that was possibly a very nice guess from Bubblebox there. So you can see where they are at in terms of what they can see. They can't see very much at all, and they're very confined back to their home sector. But we have a much larger control of the map, as you can see, and I've got this APC here to stop things coming through the middle. I've got like a few units on this left side. Again, I probably should have moved these Mariner over to Alpha to help out there, because they're not as good and not as useful in Echo. They could easily be taken out by like a bombing strike as a push came in. Obviously I do have some anti-air here to support, so that's no problem. And you can see my Recon's taking up positions on this left side to free up those 2A5s to come all the way over to the right. Now cheekily, I think some Corpse Mariner snuck into the backside of Alpha, and they did manage to pick off one of my cheetahs, which was kind of annoying. So now I'm hunting them down with my Corpse Mariner, and I do have a cargo helicopter coming in to resupply my units. So here we go, there's Corpse Mariner, 5 men, 4 men, 3 men, being slaughtered by my 2 squads. And just as he tries to get them out of there, they unfortunately die. So I managed to move these Corpse Mariner forwards. They nearly got a sneaky shot onto those APCs. My Stormtrooper were going to come across into this forest, but were fired upon by a tank. So I didn't want to continue to move those forwards, and I decided to retreat them back. Over on this left side you can see Bubblebox is going for a cheeky escort rush. These things are pretty awesome. Those 30mm cannons do have AP power, so they're nothing to be messed with. They do have 2 AP power. If they can get on top of a tank, they do a lot of damage. So 150 CU coming in here. I believe he was going to try and go for this 2A5, but I reversed it and he lost line of sight, and then I shot him down. So we got another 160 points for free there, which was really nice. But still, this has been a pretty crazy game, and Valh's done a great job of actually coming back into this game. He's now on 1,455 points, and especially after I took out so many of his units at the start of the game, yeah, it's gone pretty well. So now a lance coming over from the blue side. Let's see where this one lands. Just going to go straight into the Stormtrooper, and landed straight on top of my Leopard 204. Did quite a lot of damage actually. 5 damage to that 204, which is significant, and also the cheetah there taking a lot of damage, but we do have the resupply there. Should be able to fix those up just a little bit. I've also got this one down here that's resupplying my Leopard, making sure that's fixed up to full health. A couple of Stormtrooper from Bubblebox just getting wrecked, and now we have a Leopard here from Silverraptor pushed into the side of this tree line. Not exactly the best idea, I don't think, as my Stormtrooper do just finish that off. It only had 2 health left, and now Bubblebox's escorts finding and destroying a couple of the resupply helicopters over on that left side. Now my cheetah popping out and trying to take down this AH-64TD, which is the ATGM Hellfire version of the Apache, and we do get that 130 points. So just before the end of the game with 10 seconds to go, and my lance strike landing there, we do manage to crack a good 600 point lead or 800 point lead to win the game. So there you have it, guys. Myself and Bubblebox winning against Valh and Silverraptor, but a really awesome game, and I really think it was a good showcase of the Dutch units, which is why I chose this one to record. There was going to be 3 live gameplays that I was going to put up on the channel. You guys would have been flooded with Wargame content, but unfortunately, because of the audio issues, I couldn't upload any of them. So anyway, I chose one of them to post commentary, and this was the one. And it was the first game we played, and I think the game where everyone was concentrating the most. So we really had a pretty awesome game. You can see my Leopard recon there picking off a lot of units. We got Leopard 2A5s doing really well. The 150 CU picked off a 2A5 and a command vehicle before being shot down. Corpse Mariner, you can see they're really effective, and also my lance getting a lot of APCs and stunning a lot of infantry. Did a lot of infantry damage, didn't get credited for the kills. Also managed to take out 1 command vehicle. But yeah, guys, hopefully you guys have enjoyed that. I tried to zoom in as much as I could, really, without taking away too much from the strategic overview. But yeah, that's been the first single commentary of Wargame I've done for a while. So let me know what you think, guys. I might do more of these in the future, or when Val's not about. But there we go. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.